Samsung have been the undisputed champion of foldable phones for the last 5 years, setting the standard that others have struggled to match. Many have tried, but have been unable to provide a better experience, so Google's second generation foldable has now entered onto the scene. And I've been putting it through its paces to see if it has what it takes to challenge the reigning champion. How does it feel in the hand? What's the user experience like? Do Google's new AI-powered software features bring a competitive difference? How well does it handle multitasking? There's a lot to unpack. The good, the bad, and something that generally surprised me. Does it have enough to claim the crown of foldables? You'll have to watch to find out. Hey, it's Nathaniel, and today I'm going to go through what I think about the Google Pixel 9 Pro Fold. But before we go anywhere, it would really help a lot if you like the video and subscribe to the channel. It would mean a lot to know you enjoy what I make and help motivate me to make more content. Okay, let's get on with the show. The Google Pixel 9 Pro Fold has got to be one of the biggest jumps between a previous generation and the latest version of a new phone model. There has been so many improvements, it's almost like a whole new phone instead. It has a very nice matte black finish on the outside, which they call obsidian, and combined with the aluminium frame, it gives it this appeal of sophistication that's worth its premium price tag. It also comes in porcelain, which is a nice white silvery color. I personally like the flat edges, which makes it feel like it's one cohesive phone. Google has also done well with the dimensions, being able to get the phone down to 10.5mm when folded and 5.1mm when unfolded. That's thinner than the king of foldables, the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6, which is 12.1mm and 5.6mm in comparison. However, it's much heavier than the Z Fold 6, weighing in at 257 grams, compared to 239 grams. It's very slight, but you can notice the difference in weight, and you'd notice it even more with non-foldable phones. What stands out for this phone is the huge square camera bump on the back side. It's a really nice design, however it just sticks out so much from the rest of the phone. And because it's so wide and solid, when you put the phone down, it doesn't really rock, which is a really nice touch. But once you open it, it will rock, so there is that. The fingerprint sensor is built into the power button, which is nice and responsive. And what's great is that this phone has an IPX rating, so water resistance for 30 minutes up to 1.5 meters. There's no official dust resistance, but that's hard to do for a foldable. Now, the front display is one area where the Pixel 9 Pro Fold has outdone both its predecessor and its direct competitor. It now has a 6.3-inch 1080 by 2424 resolution display, which utilizes a 120Hz OLED panel. It is protected by Corning Gorilla Glass Victus 2, which gives it better scratch resistance, and has a peak brightness of 2700 nits, meaning you'll be able to see the screen pretty well when you're outdoors. But what makes it so great in comparison to the Fold 6 or even the previous Pixel Fold is the 20:9 screen aspect ratio. It makes it easier to hold than the Pixel Fold and is a much more usable screen compared to the Fold 6. Apps like Instagram or TikTok scale better, there's less black bars on YouTube, and gaming is just more viewable. You could essentially use the Pro Fold like a normal phone and never need to open it up to the larger screen, which is such a boon for battery life. The thing that sets off my OCD though is that the front design is asymmetrical, with a rounded corner on the right and the left is a square corner. I can understand why the design is like that, as it caters to a more uniform design once you open the phone. But it's such an unusual design, I can't help but be annoyed how off-center and not symmetrical it is, despite the fact that there is a symmetrical design in the display itself. I get the feeling that in an effort to reduce costs, they used the exact same display as they did on the Pixel 9 and just filled in the gap between the display and the hinge. But because of that, it feels like the space could have been better utilized for a more uniform design. I don't know, that's just me. The inner display, however, benefits from the asymmetrical design as it provides more space to have a larger 8-inch display, which is bigger than the Fold 6 and the original Pixel Fold. It has a 2076 by 2152 resolution, which pretty much gives it a 1:1 aspect ratio. And the display is also a 120Hz OLED panel with a peak brightness of 2700. What's slightly different about the inner display compared to the front cover display is that it can lower its refresh rate down to 1 Hz as opposed to the 60 Hz on the front. What this means is that when the screen detects no movement, it can slow the refresh rate down to help save battery life. And on a big screen like that, every drop of extra juice is helpful. Google is now into its 4th generation of its own custom chip, the Tensor G4, and it comes with 16 gigs of RAM and in 256 and 512 storage sizes. It also has the latest Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth 5.3. And while it comes with Android 14 out of the box, you can upgrade it to Android 15 already. For normal day-to-day use, the phone runs fine, and I didn't notice any issues when playing games on the cover display or the inner display. But when you try to do heavy multitasking, like watching YouTube and playing a video game, that's where the chip starts to hit its limits, as you'll notice the game lag and stutter. The battery in the Pixel 9 Pro Fold is 4,650 milliamps, which is a respectable amount. I would have liked that given it's heavier than the Fold 6, it would have a much larger battery. But the battery is only slightly larger than the 4,400 milliamps in the Fold 6. I roughly get about 5 to 6 hours of screen on time, which is a combination of both the outer cover display and the larger inner display. For the most part, it should get you through the day, especially if you're only using the cover display. Now, the Pixel 9 Pro Fold charges at 21 watts, which gives it 50% in 30 minutes and 100% in an hour and 39. However, its siblings, the Pixel 9 and the Pixel 9 Pro, charge at 27 watts, while the Pro XL charges at 37 watts. Furthermore, when it comes to wireless charging, the Pixel 9 charges at 15 watts, the Pixel 9 Pro at 21 watts, and the Pro XL up to 23 watts, while the Pro Fold is a paltry 7.5 watts. What's hilarious is that while these speeds are achieved with the second generation Pixel wireless charging stand, the Pro Fold doesn't work with it because of its large camera bump. Also, there's no reverse wireless charging, or as Google likes to call it, battery share, but there is on the other Pixel 9 phones. This is a small thing to miss, but when your competitors have it, your siblings have it, but you don't have it, as a premium phone, it feels like a miss. So here's the thing. Generally, when you pay for a premium phone, you'd expect premium specs. And given that the Pro Fold is 30% more expensive than the Pro XL, you'd think they would share the same camera system. That is unfortunately not the case. Because the cost of designing the hinge, the large inner display, multiple cameras, etc., that come with designing a foldable phone, there's bound to be some compromises. To be fair, it's a pretty good assumption if you're going to get a foldable phone, you're wanting it more for the big display rather than the camera quality. But it still would be nice to have everything, right? So the main camera sensor is a 48 megapixel sensor, while the telephoto is a 10.8 megapixel with a 5 times optical zoom. And the ultra-wide is a 0.5 times 10.5 megapixel sensor. They all do a good job of taking photos, but they're not going to be on the same quality levels as what you would get on the other Pixel 9 phones. You can also record up to 4K at 60 frames per second, which is pretty standard nowadays. So overall, pretty decent. The front camera and the inner display are the exact same, which is a 10 megapixel sensor, and that's a good thing. It means that there's no difference between the quality whether you have the phone open or closed. What's also similar to the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6 is that you can use the cover display as a preview for others to see or for you to take selfies with the main camera. It even turns off the main display so you don't get any accidental presses while taking a photo. Google being Google, they really shine when it comes to software features, and they have put a lot of them into the Pixel 9 Pro Fold, especially for the camera. Best Take, which was introduced in last year's Pixel 8 series, essentially helps when you want to take a good photo, usually in a group setting, and you can't get a good shot of everyone at the same time. If you've taken multiple photos, you can essentially stitch the best version, or worst if you're evil, of each person's face. It's even great for solo users, if you're trying to take a particular photo but can't get the right face for it. In the same vein, AdMe, Google's newest feature, is another group photo tool that is designed to include the person taking the photo of the group. How it works is pretty neat as well. You take the first photo of the group, and then as you swap positions, the camera will remember the positions of the previous people so that you aren't standing in the same spot as them. Then it will merge the pictures together to make it look like you were all standing in the one photo together. It's a great idea and a really cool piece of software. But more often than not, there's going to be someone around kind enough to take the group photo for you. However, I always say it's better to have something and not use it than not have it and need it. So it's a welcome addition to the camera features. The other new feature, Made You Look, is also a great idea, but only really works if you have kids. It will use the outer cover display to show an animation to get your child's attention. There's even one of Joy from the Disney Pixar film Inside Out. Just be mindful that it only works in vertical orientation and not horizontal. Another new feature is Magical Editor, which is a more advanced version of their Magic Eraser tool. It allows you to move, remove, and resize people or objects in an image, as well as change the background. If the beginning part sounds familiar, it's because the same tech that powers Samsung Galaxy AI tools is also Google's tech. What's different though is the ability to edit just about anything in the background that's not a human and reimagine what it can be. Whether it's the background you want to change or an object you don't like the look of, you highlight what you want to change, type in a prompt, and it'll do it for you. It really shows you the capabilities of Google's generative AI tools, and it's such a great editor for all these photos you take. Speaking of AI, obviously, Google also has the circle to search functionality. They're not gonna let some other company have exclusive rights like Samsung to it now, are they? What circle to search does is in the name itself. You can circle whatever's on your screen, and it'll search it up whether it's text or an object. And it can even translate what it detects on screen for you. This also works within the camera app as well. It's a really great tool and is so handy, especially if you're trying to learn another language. The actual software experience on the Pixel 9 Pro Fold is a tale of two halves. Using stock Android is such a dream. Everything runs so smoothly and there's no feeling of bloatware. And there are nice touches everywhere, like in the weather app. When you choose a specific city, it has a shadow of a famous landmark in the background. I love that the search bar is at the bottom of the screen at all times because we're always searching for things on the internet, and to have it within finger's reach feeds into our everyday curiosity. I also love the fact that the power button has the ability to access the digital assistant when you press and hold it. I've never used it on a Samsung device, as when you press and hold the power button, it'll activate Bixby, and we all know how that will go down. But also, I have a number of Android devices, so if I say "Hey G," it triggers all of them at the same time. Then there's other things like having a built-in VPN, or being able to deactivate camera access for all apps. Oh, and it automatically turns on the battery saver mode when you reach a low amount. You'd think that would be something so basic to have power saving mode turn on when your battery gets below a designated level. But this is the first time I've ever seen it implemented that doesn't require an extra app to download. The best part though is you get a free 1-year subscription to their Google One AI plan. This gives you up to 2 terabytes of storage for Google Photos, Google Drive and Gmail, the ability to share that storage with up to 5 other people, Gemini capabilities within Gmail and Docs, but the best part is access to the Gemini Advanced model. The reason this is so good now in 2025 is because Google has released more powerful versions of their AI systems. And with my experience with ChatGPT, the versions they put behind their paywalls are markedly better than what you get with the free versions. So to get what essentially costs $240 for free for a year, I'll take that any day of the week. Now, that all sounds nice and rosy, doesn't it? But as I said, this is a tale of two halves. So this is where the other shoe drops. As a foldable phone, one of the key selling points is the large inner display and being able to use it for multitasking. So I was very surprised when the multitasking experience was so terrible. When you have apps side by side, it works perfectly fine, and you can adjust the sizes of each one however you want. But there is no proper way to have vertical app pairing. If you want apps to be one on top of each other, then you have to rotate the phone, which is fine, I guess. I'm okay with that. But this is actually where the multitasking starts to break down. For some strange reason, Google never optimized YouTube for their own device. So when you use it in split mode and rotate the device, it switches to the mobile version, and all the videos are now gigantic and hard to click on. But the biggest problem is that when you rotate the phone sideways, both the top notification bar and the bottom navigation bar don't go away. So because of that, they eat up screen real estate, and you actually get a smaller viewing size because of it. In order for the bottom navigation bar to disappear, you need to switch to the gesture navigation. But even then, it still takes up a small amount of space, and only apps that are optimized for it seem to be able to utilize the whole screen space. Now, I personally prefer the touch navigation buttons, but it feels like an oversight that they didn't code the bottom navigation bar to disappear like it does on the Samsung Fold 6. The same can't be said for the top notification bar, as more often than not, the notification bar does not disappear, and apps are squeezed out as well. The only app that wasn't squeezed out, funnily enough, was YouTube, being able to use the space, albeit with the notification bar overlaying the video. Other video services, however, like Netflix or Disney Plus, didn't work the same way. You could say that it's an app optimization problem, but that means that all the app developers need to pull resources to optimize the app for one device, which is not their most commonly used device. So it's a low priority project. If anything, it's more of a poor Google Pixel experience, and the onus is on Google to optimize the Pro Fold itself to accommodate for these apps. The other gripe that I have, although to a lesser extent, is that there is no floating window capability. Sometimes, you just want the app to pop out so you can quickly reply to someone or use the calculator without being interrupted. but that function is just not there on the Pro Fold. Despite some missteps with multitasking, the Google Pixel 9 Pro Fold is an impressive second attempt at creating a premium foldable that competes with the likes of the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6. While it may not dethrone the Fold 6 as the undisputed champion of foldables, it stands out as a strong and compelling alternative. So then, who is this phone for? Well, if you're in the market for a foldable phone with a large display that functions seamlessly as a regular phone, love the Pixel experience, and want free Gemini for a year, then this is the phone for you. On the other hand, this phone is not for you if you don't like heavy phones, need fast charging capabilities, and want a foldable phone for the multitasking experience. Thanks again for staying until the end. If you liked what you saw, then please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel so you can see more content like this. Also, feel free to comment down below on what you saw. Was there anything that stood out for you that would make you want to buy or not buy the Pro Fold? Any comments or feedback about my video? I want to hear from you guys. And if you want to see what my thoughts are on why the Samsung Galaxy Z Fold 6 is the undisputed champion of foldables, you can check out the video here. Until next time, I'll see you in the next video.